Segment 1, the dopamine of maybe. Have you ever wondered how a woman can remember the exact color of the shirt you wore on your first date years ago, while you can barely recall yesterday's lunch? That difference is not just about attention, it reflects deeper brain wiring. To understand it, consider the role of anticipation. Many assume the greatest pleasure comes from finally getting what we want, a gift, a promotion, or a romantic moment. But for many women, the brain reacts more strongly to the buildup than to the outcome itself. Dopamine, the chemical tied to motivation and reward, tends to peak during the waiting phase. Whether it is planning a trip, preparing for an event, or watching for a message notification, the uncertainty, that maybe, can feel more powerful than the actual result. In this sense, the process is not just a step toward the reward, it becomes the most meaningful part of the experience. That is why the excitement of pursuit or a thoughtful surprise can matter more than the end result. When there's little anticipation, the reward can feel underwhelming. Understanding this shows that anticipation is a key driver of emotional engagement. Segment 2, the loop of truth. Now, let's look at how perceptions of reality are shaped. Women are often more affected by what psychologists call the illusory truth effect. This doesn't reflect a lack of intelligence or logic, it is about how the brain recognizes and processes repeated patterns. When a message, whether about beauty standards, relationship advice, or even negative self-talk, is repeated frequently, the brain begins to accept it as true without questioning it. Over time, repetition creates a sense of familiarity, and familiarity can be mistaken for truth. This is not a flaw, it's rooted in evolution. In the past, quickly absorbing shared beliefs and social signals helped individuals stay connected to their group and survive. In today's world, however, constant exposure to repeated messages, from media, peers, or partners, can shape how women see themselves and interpret reality. These influences don't just stay on the surface. They become embedded, shaping identity, beliefs, and worldview. In this way, repeated messages don't simply inform, they actively construct perception. Segment 3, the reflection effect. The female brain is often wired for deep empathy, supported by what are known as mirror neurons, cells that activate not only when someone performs an action, but also when they observe someone else doing it. Although everyone has these neurons, they tend to be more responsive in women. This means that when she is around someone who is stressed, anxious, or excited, she doesn't just notice the emotion, her brain internally mirrors it. This leads to what's called emotional contagion. It helps explain why women are often highly attuned to group dynamics, sensing changes in mood before anything is said. However, this sensitivity comes at a cost. Being surrounded by negativity, conflict, or toxic energy can be especially exhausting, because it is not just observed, it's felt on a deeper, almost physical level. Instead of staying detached, the brain absorbs and reflects those emotions in real time, making the surrounding emotional climate a major factor in overall well-being. Segment 4, the reactance trigger. If something is labeled as forbidden or out of reach, it often becomes more appealing. This is not simply about playing hard to get, it is a psychological response known as reactance. At its core, reactance is triggered when someone feels their freedom or ability to choose is being limited. The moment a woman senses control or restriction, her mind pushes back, creating a strong desire to reclaim that sense of independence. What was once ordinary can suddenly seem far more attractive simply because it represents personal choice. This response is shaped in part by history. Women have long faced more limitations and restrictions, so the instinct to resist control has become especially refined. When autonomy feels threatened, the reaction is not mild, it can become a powerful drive to reassert control. This is not about being difficult, it is about protecting independence. Recognizing this highlights the importance of respecting boundaries and allowing freedom, rather than trying to impose limits that may trigger resistance. Segment 5, the emotional archive. There is a common misconception that women hold on to the past out of stubbornness. In reality, this often reflects a process known as emotional memory encoding. The brain tends to store emotionally significant experiences more deeply than neutral ones. Everyday details may fade quickly, but moments tied to strong feelings, whether joy, fear, or pain, are preserved with much greater clarity. As a result, events like an argument from years ago or a hurtful comment are not remembered out of spite. They remain vivid because the brain marked them as important at the time. From an evolutionary perspective, this ability was valuable. Remembering who could be trusted or who posed a risk helped maintain safety within social groups. In modern relationships, this can appear as a detailed memory of meaningful interactions. It is not about dwelling on the past, but rather about having a more deeply recorded emotional history. When something carries weight, the brain strengthens its connection to that memory, making it easier to recall later. Segment 6, the illusion of multitasking. There is a widespread belief that women are naturally gifted at multitasking, effortlessly balancing work, home life, and social demands all at once. In reality, neuroscience tells a different story. The human brain, regardless of gender, cannot truly handle multiple complex tasks simultaneously. What women often do exceptionally well is switch quickly between tasks. Instead of doing everything at the same time, the brain changes rapidly from one responsibility to another, moving from work messages to family needs to daily planning in quick succession. This speed can create the appearance of multitasking. However, each switch comes at a cost. Every time the brain changes focus, it must reset and reload, which consumes mental energy and gradually leads to fatigue. Efficiency in switching doesn't mean it's effortless. The expectation that women should constantly juggle everything at once ignores how the brain actually works. What's often praised as multitasking is really a fast drain on mental resources. A healthier perspective is to recognize the effort involved and value focus over constant switching. Segment 7, the foot in the door strategy. In social interactions, small actions can shape bigger outcomes. One powerful principle behind this is the foot in the door effect, which is rooted in a natural desire for consistency rather than manipulation. From an early age, many women are encouraged to be cooperative and supportive. When they agree to a small, simple request, it can subtly influence how they see themselves, as someone helpful or accommodating. Once that self-image is formed, it creates pressure to stay consistent. When a larger request comes later, saying no may feel uncomfortable because it clashes with the identity already established. This internal tension, known as cognitive dissonance, pushes toward agreeing again. This tendency toward consistency plays a strong role in behavior. Understanding it can help women recognize when they feel obligated to keep saying yes and empower them to set clearer limits. For others, it shows how small, positive interactions can build trust over time. Segment 8, the meaning behind eye contact. Nonverbal communication speaks volumes, and eye contact plays a central role. For many women, steady and genuine eye contact can trigger the release of oxytocin, a hormone linked to bonding and trust. This creates a sense of connection and emotional warmth, signaling attention, respect, and presence. Because women are often highly sensitive to subtle social cues, eye contact becomes a key way to judge sincerity and emotional safety. At the same time, the difference between a comforting gaze and an unsettling stare is extremely subtle and depends heavily on context. While appropriate eye contact can strengthen a connection, an intense or poorly timed stare can quickly feel threatening. Women are particularly attuned to these nuances, easily distinguishing between a look that feels respectful and one that feels intrusive. In different environments, the same gaze can either foster trust or trigger discomfort. In this way, eye contact serves as an instant evaluation of intention, safety, and emotional tone.